All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today we're going to be talking about D Day and the July plot and the death of Hitler. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So, here is your warm up picture. Now, the question's asking you, what is this artist trying to say about the Nazis' control over Europe? Okay, now, if you notice, you do see a flag, and it's, if you notice, it's not really straight and flying proudly, and things like that. It's looks a little different. So what does that tell you? That's a big old hint. Okay, so think about it, write your response. Okay, because we're moving on in three, two, one. So with the allies now controlling North Africa and Italy, which the Nazis controlled, Um, now the Allies control it. Now they were focusing on Berlin. Now they were close enough to bomb it. So from April 18th up until March 24th, um, the Allies would constantly bomb Berlin. Okay, and this was known as the Battle of Berlin. Okay, just letting basically the German people know, hey, we're here, we're close, we can come, we can get you anytime you want. Basically, they're letting them feel what the British people were feeling when the Nazis were bombing uh, Britain, you know. So, June 6th, 1944, this is known as D Day. A lot of you guys have heard about this from video games and movies and things like that. Um, but here's the thing that they don't really talk about in the movies or in the video games. Just after midnight, 24,000 paratroopers. These are basically people who jump out of planes with the parachutes. These guys go on like 1,000 planes. They're flying over uh, into France. Now, here is the beach, right? Which everyone knows about on D Day. The planes went past the beach into this wooded area, and these guys then dropped down. They went behind enemy lines. Now, those German people who were stationed at the beaches realized, hey, these guys are behind us. So they went out to fight them. They left the beaches. So the beaches only had, you know, nowhere near enough men because they figured, oh, these guys aren't going up the beach. They're trying to get behind us, you know. So they sent those troops out there. Then around 6:30 in the morning, that's when the land invasion begins. That's the part that everyone knows about. Okay. Um, and they arrive in total of 176,000 men, go across the channels, the English Channel, in 5,300 different boats over a 45-mile stretch of beach land. Okay. This is known as D Day, but also under the name Operation Overlord. Okay. Now, Americans have two spots on the beaches they're supposed to go to: Utah and Omaha. Everyone knows about Omaha because, again, that's where a lot of movies and video games they like to start with that area. The British had two areas as well where they landed and fought. That was known as Gold and Sword. Here's the part that not many people know about: the Canadians. Yes, our good old neighbors up north. The Canadians even fought alongside us on D Day, and the area they were supposed to land and fight for was called Juno. Okay? Now, D Day became the bloodiest one day battle in U.S. history since the Battle of Antietam. You guys will learn about Antietam next year when you take U.S. history. Okay? Now, after a while, with all these allies just coming through on the beaches, these Germans are trying to, mow them down with their machine guns and things like that. And it's just not working. They're basically doing the blitzkrieg that worked for the Germans so well. They're now doing it to the Nazis, and the Nazis can't handle it. Too many men are coming at one time, and they can't stop them. So they lose control of the beaches in the coastal area and they have to retreat back. Now, here's the thing, while they're retreating backwards away from the beach, sometimes in some of the areas they ran into those paratroopers that landed, and some were killed, some died, some escaped. It's just the luck of the draw. You know. Um, Now, while this is going on, Hitler is sensing that he's losing in Russia. It's unwinnable. There's no way we can win back the area we took. We're getting pushed back by the Russians. So he then focuses all his attention to the British and Americans who are now on the beaches. And he's like, okay, well, I can't stop Russia from coming, but maybe if I send all these troops towards the Americans and the British, they will stop. We can at least stop the English and the Americans from coming anymore, and maybe we can push them back, across the ocean. So now he's focusing on the Americans and the British. Now, here's the thing. Hitler didn't have the complete love and loyalty of his people. Um, at first, he probably did complete, utter love and devotion and respect and some of that. And but the thing is, especially in the military, the top generals and some of that, the people who really knew battle, knew war, um, they didn't like Hitler because again, the Blitzkrieg and taking over all those countries, that was them. And then here's Hitler thinking, well, I know what I'm doing. I'm the leader. I'm the one that everyone cheers for. I'm the guy who started all this. So I know what we should do to win battles and win the war. In reality, he really doesn't. You know, and he's making a lot of mistakes that are costing them German lives. And they're really starting to sense that he's having people die and fight for him, not for the good of Germany and stuff like that. Now, some of these guys decide, we should kill him. Now, we know of 42 different plans by different people, citizens and military leaders, to kill him. These plans were created, thought up, almost, done, but they got foiled either by the SS, the German secret police, some of that. There's 42 that we know about, but the total number of attempts that we have no idea because these guys thought of an idea, a plan, but they never went through with it. The number could be in the hundreds, you know, how many different plans people had to try to kill Hitler. The closest they ever got was on July 20th. This is known as the July Plot or Operation Valkyrie. Okay. There were several high level German officials who decided to stage a coup d'etat. Okay. And a coup d'etat, if you forgot, because I taught about this before and several months ago, is basically when the military takes over the government. So that was their plan, to kill Hitler's top men, and then take over the government and try to settle a peace agreement between Germany and the Allies to prevent any more Germans from dying. Okay. Now, here's the plan. This was the plan. They were going to take an explosive into this place called the Wolves Lair. This is where Hitler met with the top generals and people like that and discussed what their plan to do is to fight against the Americans, the British, the Nazis, the underground French, or sorry, not Nazi, the underground French fighters. Now, the original plan was to have a bomb exploded in this concrete building in the wolf slayer, and with the pressure inside it would kill basically everyone because again the explosion would remember an explosion explodes out, right, and it's trying to find its way out of its where it's in. So in a concrete area like this building would have been, the fire and stuff like that would have just ripped through the walls, through the hallways and stuff like that, going to the rooms, and it would be pressurized and it would kill people, everyone inside. But on this particular day, what ended up happening is they moved it to a wood building. Okay. And so the man in charge of turning on the bomb and uh, basically trying to kill Hitler, his name was Colonel Schneck von Stauffenberg. And he says that he had to put the bomb right near Hitler. So when it exploded, he figured Hitler was dead. But in reality, what ended up happening was the bomb did explode. Hitler did not die. He was hurt from the explosion. He had bruises and cuts and things like that, but he did not die. Other people died, but he didn't. And these guys tried to take over Germany, saying, "No, no, no, don't believe the propaganda, the message on the radios. Hitler's dead." Um, and it wasn't until a little later that day that they find out that no, he is alive, and their plan is over with. So the main people in charge: Colonel General Ludwig Beck, Colonel General Frederick Ulbricht, Major General Henning von Tresckow, and of course the guy who was there who put the bomb in motion, Lieutenant Colonel Schneck von Stauffenberg, were all executed. Okay. So that was the closest they ever got to killing Hitler. Now, in Europe, American and French forces take over southern part of France. Again, the French, I know the French get a lot of beef from people saying, oh, they never fought in World War II, some of that. Oh, they just laid down. No, there was a lot of underground French fighters who made it look like they're okay with the Nazis being there and stuff like that. That they basically just let them run over, but in reality, they were doing underground work to sabotage the Nazis. So they were fighting back against the Nazis, but secretly. Okay, but with the Americans down there, and they taking over southern part of France and northern part of France, Hitler's like getting his men now. He's like, get out of France. Come on, let's gather up in our area and prepare for a fight. Protect the homeland. Thing is, the Allies have basically trapped 80,000 German troops, and they're trying to get back to Germany. And they have a little area to escape out of to go back to Germany. Now the Allies know they have to go through this tiny area, so they just start bombing the area. Okay, the Germans are trying to gun through it. They're in their cars and their jeeps. Some are going by foot, and they're trying to avoid being hit by a bomb and so of that. Um, about 10,000 die. We do capture several thousand, but the rest make it back to Germany. Now, December 16th is known as the Battle of the Bulge. This is the beginning of it. Basically, Hitler gets one last push against the Allies. Um, so he basically gathers all his men, right? And if you look at the map, that solid purple line, that's what the original line was. And he gets all his men, right? What he can gather. And that's about a quarter of a million infantrymen, so foot soldiers, along a 50-mile stretch of land, along with 600 tanks and a bunch of planes. And they basically push against the Allies. Now, the Allies are like, hey, we're pushing the Nazis back, 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 and all of a sudden here comes Nazis pushing them back. They actually capture some um, Americans, some allies. They cut them off from supplies and some of that. One group in particular, they surrounded them. Basically, the Americans were out of ammunition. They were surrounded, and then the German commander basically told the American commander, "We got you surrounded. You're done. What do you say to that?" And the American commander just responded with, "Nuts." That was it. And they end up capturing 10,000 of those guys. Now, as you look on that map, and where you see that purple dotted dash line, that's as far as they got. That's as far as they pushed the Allies. But then the Allies just gather up their forces and push the Nazis back. So by January 30th, the Allies gained back all that land that they lost. So now, where you see those red lines where the Nazis are, they got pushed back all the way back to where that solid purple line is again. The U.S. lost about 19,000 men. Those guys died. 60,000 were wounded, captured, or missing. But the Nazi lost about 100,000 men, and all those 600 tanks were basically gone. They only maybe had like, maybe like 20, 30. I mean, they're limited to basically nothing. Their airplanes were basically gone. They were shot down, you know. So now they're really hurting bad. So on April 25th, the Americans are still pushing through to Germany, and all of a sudden, on the other side, here comes the Russian soldiers, and they meet up at Torgau. And basically, the soldiers are looking at each other like, "You're not Nazi, are you?" I'm like, "No." Or, "Are you Nazis?" "No." We're Russian. "Oh, we're Americans." "Hey, comrade!" This and that. And then they're like, "Okay, well, there was no Nazis behind you guys, right?" "No, no, no." "Any behind you guys?" "No, no, no. We've been pushing them." And they realized, like, "Oh, well, cool. You've controlled half of Germany. We control the other half. So let's head south." So while the Americans are waiting for their orders, the Russians just head towards Berlin. Now, as they're marching, they head to Reichstad. Now, Reichstad, not Moscow, or sorry, not Moscow, sorry, Berlin. Um, Reichstag was the heart of Germany's power. It wasn't Berlin like a lot of people thought it was. Now, Hitler is there in a bunker with his top people, and they get word that, hey, the Russians are like half a mile away. So Hitler knows this is the end. Okay. He appoints Karl Donitz as head of state and Joseph Goebbels as chancellor of Germany. And with the last bit of his life, he marries his longtime girlfriend, Eva Braun, and basically go into a room. He gives some soldiers specific orders, close the door, and then him and Braun poison their dogs and themselves, and then Hitler shoots himself in the head. Now, those special orders that were given by Hitler was to basically, when they heard the gunshots, to take his body and burn it. So they're outside the door, they hear the gunshot, they go inside, they see his dead body, they give him one last salute. They then take his body out of the bunker, upstairs into this little garden area, put his body down, and they burn it. Okay. So when the Russians come through that area, they see the burned body and they're like, okay, what happened here? So they head into the bunker, they capture other people. Some people are already dead, like Gobbles and his family, they're dead. Him and his wife, poisoned their kids. If I remember right, he shot himself, I believe. You know, so May 7th, Germany surrenders, officially surrenders. And on May 9th, 1945, it's known as VE Day, which stands for Victory in Europe. Okay. So now the war in Europe is over. The Nazis are done with. The Russian, British, American, French, Belgium, these main countries are together. They're happy. But on November 22nd through the 26th, the Allies, the main guys, Britain, America, and Russia, meet up in Cairo, Egypt. And they're like, we still got the Japanese to worry about. And they agree. The only type of surrender they'll take from Japan is an unconditional surrender. Okay. Now, the reason why they take an unconditional is because earlier when Japan tried to tell the United States, whoa, 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 let's talk about peace and this and that, la la la. They end up attacking Pearl Harbor. So the Americans know, no. If they say let's talk about this, and they'll be like, no, no talking. You quit now, or we're gonna keep fighting you, bombing you, whatever we have to. No talking, no this and that. You surrender. No ands if or buts about it. Okay. So, with that being said, hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. So, you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later, okay? Oh, and don't forget to do your projects if you still haven't finished that. Remember, you got to research, you can research a battle, the person, or do a propaganda poster for the war. And again, it's all on your paper, your research paper. Okay, that I gave you guys in class. I told you could take it home or you could leave it in class. Some of you guys haven't started it. Now's the time because it's due on next week at on the I want to say it's 8th, 7th, 8th for you guys. The 9th for Tuesday, Thursday. Okay. So, you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.